hour to go. Voters are wrapping up, and our team of 29 reporters is spread across the state for Smart Decision 2016.
Boone County voter delays. What exactly is the problem?
Plus, behind the polls, we'll take you to the volunteers that make it all possible, what it takes to run Election Day. KOMU 8 News at 6 starts now. It is finally Election Day, and we have teams spread across the state to cover it all. We have more than 20 reporters around Missouri ready to bring you live and updated information from candidate and issue watch parties throughout the night. Good evening. I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Jim Reek. Thanks for joining us. We begin with the U.S. Senate race. Incumbent Roy Blunt trying to hold off current Secretary of State Jason Kander.
Kander is currently in Kansas City. He was visiting polling places today. KOMU 8's Lee Yang joins us live from his watch party. Lee?
Kander has been active on Twitter all day, tweeting about his day's activity. He began his final campaign drive today across the state in St. Louis, visiting multiple polling locations, including one in Ferguson. He voted in Columbia, where he ran into Democratic gubernatorial candidate Chris Koster. Kander, the Democratic Secretary of State, is facing off against incumbent Senator Roy Blunt in what has been a surprisingly tight U.S. Senate race. Kander, his wife Diana, his son, 3-year-old son True, and his supporters are expected to arrive here at around 7 after the polls are closed. Reporting live from Kansas City, Lee Yang, KOMU 8 News.
From Kander's story in Kansas City to a trip to Southwest Missouri and the incumbent story, KOMU 8's Adam Pressler is live in Springfield to tell us what's happening at Roy Blunt's watch party.
So very closely watched.
Jim and Brittany, I am here at the Oasis Convention Center in Springfield at the Roy Blunt Watch Party. Now, as you said before, he is the incumbent congressional senator for the state of Missouri, and he's running against current Secretary of State Jason Kander. Now, if you look behind me, you can see that the first few people are starting to enter the room and take their seats. And we were able to talk to officials from the Blunt organization, and they say that they expect a huge crowd here tonight and that they are looking forward to it. Now make sure to stay tuned because we will be here at the watch party keeping you updated. Reporting live in Springfield, Adam Pressler, KOMU 8 News.
We also have a team in Chesterfield, just outside of St. Louis. KOMU 8's Max Deepnight is live there, where gubernatorial candidate Eric Greitens is holding his watch party. So Max, what can you tell us?
I'm live here in Chesterfield, where Eric Greitens' team is getting ready for the results to pour in here from one of the closest races in the nation. It's been a historic election season. We were here less than 3 months ago for Mr. Greitens' run through the primaries, where he had a very close race that he ended up coming out victorious in. It was a very similar situation. In August, polls also showed a tight race, but Mr. Greitens ended up winning that one very easily. Greitens, who does not shy away from his label as an outsider, has run a grassroots conservative campaign, and it's been somewhat successful of late as the polls have gotten even closer. Eric is set to arrive here soon, and more than 300 people are expected to pile in here at the Doubletree Hotel here in Chesterfield in a few hours. Reporting live in Chesterfield, Max Deepnight, KOMU 8 News.
Of course, his opponent is Chris Koster, who has been Missouri's Attorney General for the past 8 years, and before that, a Missouri senator from western Missouri. He was a Republican originally. KOMU 8's Allison Ross is live at the Koster headquarters, also in the St. Louis area, with a look around.
I'm live at the Chase Park Plaza here in St. Louis. This is where Chris Koster's event will be taking place in just about an hour at 7 o'clock. I spoke with a spokeswoman for the Missouri Democratic Party, Christina Sosani. She says that they chose this hotel for its capacity. They're expecting hundreds of people here later tonight. Volunteers were invited to this, and as well as the public. It is open to the public starting at 7. 7 o'clock is also when those polls close, so if you haven't voted yet, you still have about an hour. Chris Koster made a surprise appearance here just 40 minutes ago, and he is expected to be back here around 7 o'clock. Follow KOMU 8 News on Twitter, and we'll keep you updated with the latest information. Reporting live in St. Louis, Allison Ross, KOMU 8 News.
Today's not just a big day for candidates, it's also a big day for people heading to the polls for the first time to vote ever. KOMU 8's Desiree Evans met some first-time voters and is here to tell us why they felt they needed to get out to the polls.
A lot of the first-time voters I spoke with say their expectations were a lot different from their reality. Some of the first-time voters say they expected lines to be out the door and for the process to take hours, but it only took a few minutes. Others say they went in feeling confident, and when it actually came time to vote, they became very nervous. One voter I spoke with says even though the process may be different from what you expect, what matters is getting to the polls.
I think every little vote matters, and especially if there's like a certain person you don't want to win, not voting at all is still a vote for the other person to win. So if you can vote, get out and vote.
I also spoke with the election judge at Memorial Union on MU's campus. He says he was pleased and excited to see both old and new voters at the polls.
There are voter delays in Boone County, and it wasn't necessarily because of long lines. KOMU 8's Chris Green joins us in the newsroom to tell us what seems to be the problem.
It's the most common issue in every election, voters failing to change their addresses in time. I talked to one Columbia resident who said she changed her address on the last day to do so, but she was still not able to vote on right away this morning. Boone County Clerk Wendy Noren says her address change was received days later because it wasn't filed before the 5 o'clock deadline. Many people are dealing with similar situations today, and Noren says her office is working extra hard to fix them.
I've got additional 44 people out at our polling places that get the most change of addresses. They're out there so the calls don't come in here, so they can handle some of the change of addresses also. So we have an additional 60 people handling change of addresses today than we normally do.
Noren told me changing an address on Election Day causes problems for the phone lines and for other voters at the polling place, but she believes the workers are doing a good job solving the problems. In the newsroom, Chris Green, KOMU 8 News.
Kansas City is a busy place for election watch parties tonight. Raise Your Hand for Kids is hosting an Amendment 3 watch party just 3 miles from Jason Kander's watch party. KOMU 8's Laura Barczewski is live to tell us what we can expect from that event.
I'm live here at Uptown Theater, and I'm just about to head over to the Raise Your Hand for Kids watch party at the Grand Hall at Power and Light. The event is mainly for supporters of Amendment 3, also known as one of the tobacco tax increases on the ballot today. About 80 people have RSVP'd to the event and are coming from all over Missouri to be here in Kansas City tonight. Some people are confident Amendment 3 will pass, but others think it doesn't have a chance. I'll have an update on that watch party at 10. Reporting live in Kansas City, Laura Barczewski, KOMU 8 News.
Students. But we begin with the big news tonight out of Washington. The president fired Acting Attorney General Sally Yates. The White House says Yates betrayed the Department of Justice and refused to enforce a legal order. Earlier, Yates told the department not to make legal arguments defending his immigration order. Dana Boente, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, was named as the Acting Attorney General. President Obama had appointed Yates to serve as interim AG until Trump's nominee, Senator Jeff Sessions, is confirmed. Here's a quick recap of the controversial travel ban. The executive order says those from 7 Muslim-majority countries cannot come to the U.S. for 90 days. Confusion followed as hundreds of valid green card holders were detained at airports. Democrats have vowed to fight the order, saying it discriminates against Muslims. Republicans defended the order for national security reasons.
Certain countries in certain areas of the world produce people that seek to do harm, and we've got to make sure that those people undergo a certain amount of vetting before they come into our country. So I think there's a big difference between the religion and the location.
In Missouri, protests in Springfield started last night and continued this morning. More than 60 protesters went to Senator Roy Blunt's office. According to the Washington Post, Blunt says the president is doing what he said he was going to do, and the government's top priority is keeping Americans safe. Protesters disagree.
I don't think that we're going to change Roy Blunt's mind, but when he spoke out in favor of President Trump's immigration and refugee ban from the 7 majority Muslim nations that he picked, excluding the ones where he has business ties, I think that's shady, and we don't appreciate it. So we want to let him and his staff know that.
Blunt's staff says the senator is in D.C. and refused to comment. Protesters say they'll be back tomorrow.
Here in mid-Missouri, the MU community is reacting to the immigration order. The Faculty Council approved a resolution today showing support for MU's international community, including the 138 students from the 7 banned countries. One MU student says she thinks the ban is hateful.
I think that the words that are being used right now is bringing up a lot of hatred in our society, and I think that those microaggressions kind of build up so that the people that are being impacted really need to take care of themselves.
Senate Democrats voiced disapproval for Trump's executive order, calling it everything from un-American to disgusting. However, the lawmakers were not successful in forcing a vote to reverse the order. The Senate's top Democrat, Chuck Schumer, says the order brings up serious doubts about the competence of the new administration. Others fear the action will harm relations with potential Muslim allies in the fight against terror.
Iraqis who risked their lives to serve our country as translators saw their visas revoked. An 11-month-old baby was detained. That's disgusting. It's un-American. It's contrary to everything that we stand for.
House Democrats are also taking steps to overturn Trump's order. Because Democrats are in the House minority, though, the legislation is likely to fail. Republican Senator Tom Cotton says the order is not a Muslim ban and argues there's no right of people around the world to enter the U.S.
Yet here's the minority shedding crocodile tears over President Trump's immigration and refugee policy. But where were those tears for the last 8 years when President Obama's foreign policy created all of these refugees?
Today, Iraq's parliament responded with a similar plan if the U.S. travel ban continues. The decision was unanimous in support of the Foreign Relations Committee, saying Iraq should potentially ban Americans from entering their country. The Foreign Ministry says it's surprised Iraq is on the ban because it does not, quote, export terrorists. The ban is creating reaction in the UK as well. Thousands gathered outside Prime Minister Theresa May's home. Protesters say they're against the ban and President Trump's planned visit. More than 1.5 million people have signed an online petition opposing Trump's visit. All petitions with more than 100,000 signatures have to be considered for a debate in Parliament.
Right to work is one of the most controversial issues in the Missouri State House, and now it is racing down the home stretch. With just one hearing in the way, right to work could become law by the end of the week. KOMU 8's Meg Hillings here to tell us how this bill differs from other right to work legislation under consideration.
For weeks, right-to-work legislation has been the topic of conversation down at the Capitol, but today was all about Senate Bill 19. The bill differs from previous right-to-work legislation in that it has a grandfather clause. It would allow current contracts with union fees to continue until they expire on their own, but even with the final vote drawing near, many are divided on the issue.
We've done it their way 70 years. Let's give this a chance. Let's give worker freedom a chance to work and see if it does not help employment in the state of Missouri.
I know a lot of people are on both sides of this issue. This is not going to be the magic bullet that saves the economy in Missouri. It won't do it.
The House's Rules Committee will hear the bill tomorrow. Reporting in the newsroom, Meg Hilling, KOMU 8 News.
A black driver in Columbia is 3 times more likely to be pulled over than a white driver. Those stats come from the Missouri Attorney General's 2015 report on traffic stops.
Columbia leaders hosted a town hall meeting tonight with an aim to try and fix racial profiling. Columbia residents met with the city manager and police chief to voice concerns on racially motivated stops and searches. At the meeting, city manager Mike Mathis handed out detailed statistics showing how black drivers were stopped at a higher rate than white drivers, especially in Boone County and Columbia.
And I didn't have anything in my pocket but open candy. And I let him know that that wasn't right, and you put your dirty hands on my candy, and he said, well, my hands aren't dirty, whatever. And I felt like I had been stripped in my chest inside of something, and it wouldn't go away.
Searchers and concerned residents came to the meeting all hoping their opinions would be heard. You just heard from citizen Michael Thornton, who said they feel like they've felt the effects of racial profiling personally. Police Chief Ken Burton says he's not totally convinced by the data, though, and wants to have a third party investigate it. There will be more meetings on the issue.
Jefferson City residents are stunned by letters they received from City Hall after talking to property owners. KOMU 8's Jenna Puritz is here in the studio to tell us about their concerns.
After a blight test done this summer, 53 properties in the historic district failed to meet city code. I spoke with Housing Authority Executive Director, who said, worst case scenario, the city could take over these properties. Residents are concerned because they think the letters were unclear and they're not sure what to do next to fix the problem.
My whole point of getting this letter is, why are you sending me a letter?
Is my house blighted, or is it just because I'm in that area where all these other places are bad?
The letters were sent in relation with a cleanup and renewal initiative to restore the area. Anyone who received a letter has until February 10th to respond and 30 days to come with an agreement with the city. In the studio, Jenna Puritz, KOMU 8 News.